What is up, everyone? In the trenches, back again. Coach Kelly, how are you, man?
Good. How's it going?
I'm doing great. It's Monday. We don't have Monday Night Football, and maybe that's why last episode Monday is so. It's Monday without Monday Night Football. It's not the same. So, Johnny, how was your Monday?
Pretty good. I had a late Sunday night, but had a pretty good Monday. Can't complain. Doing in Miami, sun half the day, rain the other half the day, but it was good. It's been a great day, great start to the week. Staying safe. I mean, obviously we're all going through this, and I remember telling my mother earlier today, I was like, listen, I'd rather be bored at home and my mini lockdown than having to deal with coronavirus symptoms, which I now know people that either have passed away from it or are currently hospitalized from it. So it's starting to get closer. And the closer it gets, the more I'm like literally like I don't want to walk out the door. I've become like almost OCD. So this is actually very good for me. I feel like I'm engaging again.
Interacting with people, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
It's Florida is something could be said about Florida and the pandemic and Florida once again, like the Florida man.
Well, actually, I saw a stat this morning that said Arizona is actually taking over the number one spot in average cases over the last couple of weeks.
Hey,
We're second. We're definitely second. We're totally second.
They could have it. It's one thing I don't want to win is the
No.
But anyways, enough of the pandemic. We've had quarantine.
Yes.
Sports is coming back. We'll keep saying it because football is coming back. More importantly, we've covered a few divisions, and tonight we cover arguably could be the best division. Arguably, they definitely are up there. A bunch of moves made on each team. New coaches. Some coaches on the hot seat. It's gonna be an interesting year for this division. Give me your take on it, Bucks. What do you think about this division?
Well, one thing about this division that I told you this earlier. I did a little bit of research. Since 1998, this is the only division where every single team in the division has gone to the Super Bowl at least once. So in a 20 years, like a little over a 20-year span, no other division can make that claim, and that's pretty impressive. That means that maybe not all 20 years they've all been great, but there's always some talent coming out of this division. And now you're talking about in the last 10 to 15 years, you've seen Matt Ryan, you've seen Drew Brees, you've seen Cam Newton win a Heisman and take a team to a Super Bowl, and now you get Tom Brady, and you can make a case that he's arguably the best of all time, or one of the best of all time. 6 Super Bowls, 4 Super Bowl MVPs. My only question, like everybody else, is how much does he have in the tank, and can he win with Bruce Arians as opposed to Bill Belichick? We shall see.
Yeah, it's a good point. Can he win without Bill Belichick, and does he have enough? Him and Gronkowski, do they all have enough to carry Tampa to a possible Super Bowl playoff appearance? They're definitely going to be fighting for the wild card. I think we all have New Orleans on top. Coach Kelly, maybe you disagree. Give me your take on why do you see Tampa number one in the division, or why do you not see them?
Well, I'm thinking that the Bucks with Brady and the receivers, the 2-star receivers they have in Tampa Bay, and 2 good tight ends they have, and some running backs by committee. I think that the Bucks can make a strong push for number one spot in the NFC South. Bruce Arians with this offense with Jameis Winston last year. Jameis Winston threw for over 5,000 yards, and people have their opinions about Jameis Winston. I think it was just as many touchdowns as he threw. He threw interceptions, but 5,000 yards in today's NFL, that is amazing. So the Bucks could possibly ease out on top with a win. The Saints, a few injuries, and it's kind of, the Bucs, I think, are kind of closing on it a little bit better. Just one note to think about for this conference that's heavily driven by quarterbacks and wide receivers. Antonio Brown is still out there as a free agent. So if these top three teams in this conference, if somebody was to pick up Antonio Brown, it could be a major game changer for how far in the playoffs they go.
That is a very good point. That is a great point. Antonio Brown could definitely do some damage. I think you put him in a team like Carolina, now you have McCaffrey and you have Antonio Brown.
Yes.
You have a lot to figure out. It is a new coach coming in. Matt Rule, which was the head coach of Baylor, and now he is a head coach at Carolina. So they have to figure it out. But yes, Antonio Brown is still available, and would be a weapon anywhere that he does go if he keeps his shit right.
Yes, definitely.
He has to keep his mind right. He has to. I've heard stop hanging out with the people that he's hanging out with. Whatever it is, get a new agent. Whatever you gotta do. He was an amazing talent, and not for personal reasons. Not only because I have him on my keepers team still, but because I would like to see that guy play football again because he was super fun to watch, super explosive player, and he's going to be a weapon for anyone that gets him. But enough about Antonio Brown because he's not in the league right now. We could talk about him some other time. Let's start. Well, like always, we'll start from the bottom up, and we all agree Carolina has too many question marks, and they play too hard of a schedule. I think to be any less than last place doesn't mean they're not going to win a few games. Doesn't mean they're not going to be fun. Obviously, they have one of the best running backs, if not, he is the best running back in the league, and one of the best players in the NFL today, and that's Christian McCaffrey. What do you guys think about Box? Give me your lead on Carolina. How do you see this new head coach coming into the league?
Well, the thing about Matt Rule is, I mean, he did well in Baylor. He's an offensive-minded coach. He's the next, they want him to be the next Sean McVay, the next young, hot, offensive-minded talent. And he put up huge numbers in Baylor. He's never been a coach in the NFL, a head coach in the NFL. He's got what I consider to be the best weapon in the NFL right now in Christian McCaffrey. I mean, for all you Dolphins fans out there, Christian McCaffrey last year was only the third time in the NFL history went 1,000 yards rushing, 1,000 yards receiving. Only two times I've been done before that was Roger Craig in 1985. Many of you weren't probably alive to know what that is. Roger Craig was a guy who pretty much ended the only time Dan Marino made a Super Bowl in 1984. He's the guy who scored 3 touchdowns and basically ended Marino's chance of ever winning a title. The following year, he had 1,000. The only other guy to do it was Marshall Faulk, the Hall of Famer, who did 1,000 in 99 when the Rams won the Super Bowl. McCaffrey had 1,000 plus 100 catches. He's only the second guy other than Michael Thomas to have 300 catches combined in each of in his first 3 seasons combined. I mean, those are staggering numbers for a team that had Cam Newton last year, fell off a little bit. Now they got Teddy Bridgewater, and it doesn't matter who they had at running back, at receiver. It doesn't matter who was around him. He put up those great numbers. I think Matt Rule is an offensive guy that's going to obviously milk him for all he's worth. I genuinely believe that Christian McCaffrey, even on a team that's probably not going to win, 6, 7, 8 games, might end up winning the MVP because his numbers are just going to be staggering. But I think they lost too much. We don't know what Bridgewater has. Can he play a full season healthy? Can he stay healthy? How is he going to mesh with the new coach? Are they going to wear out McCaffrey? How's the defense going to react after losing Luke Kuechly? There's so many question marks for the Carolina Panthers. I think they have a good future because they're building around, obviously, McCaffrey, which is, like I said, to me, he's the best weapon in the NFL. But this year, I mean, I see him winning maybe 4 or 5 games.
Yeah, I agree. You did touch on Teddy Bridgewater, which is now the new quarterback in Carolina. He's replacing Cam Newton. Cam Newton is now in New England. Coach Kelly, From what we've seen, from what you've seen in Teddy Bridgewater, do you think he could be a difference maker, or is he a part time until they find their guy type deal?
Well, I think Teddy Bridgewater can be a quarterback that can carry the Panthers for 3-4 years. Of course, I mean, his age, his history of injuries kind of always, puts question marks around him with his long-term durability. Um, uh, uh, I think he can carry the Panthers until they transition and add a few more pieces in. Wide receiver is one hole I think where Carolina Panthers need to fill in. Of course, on defense, Luke Kuechly, he retired. He was a heart and soul of that defense, one of the best players probably in Carolina Panther history to play for that team. As we mentioned, new coach, new philosophy. It's a lot of learning for everybody. Um, for you fantasy guys, they have Christian McCaffrey. He's going to get a whole lot of work. So I mean, he might. It's been one or two rumors I've heard that some games he might kick an extra point or two. So you'll be on the lookout for that. Vegas has Carolina to win the conference at a plus 2,000. Save your money. There's no miracle that's going to happen. Carolina will never not. 2020 is not the year for Carolina in the NFC South. They have an over and under of 5.5 games. I'm taking the over on 5.5. Carolina will finish last, but a lot of their out of conference games, I think they could possibly win to get the over 5 games.
They do play the NFC North.
Yes.
Green Bay, they play Minnesota, they play the Bears, which is a question mark, and then they play the Lions, which is a question mark, but for a team that is also a question mark, they might not even win that one. I would imagine Teddy Bridgewater is I mean, I think Stafford would be the best player on that field other than Christian McCaffrey, but that's maybe one of the games they can win. Their stretch, they go probably the hardest part of their schedule. They get Atlanta at home, then they go at KC, then they get Tampa, then Detroit and Minnesota. So,
damn,
for a team that has so many question marks, and to replace a guy like Luke Kuechly, which was one of the best, if not the best linebacker in the NFL, and for many years, the heart and soul of that team. They did try to replace him in the draft, though. They drafted a bunch of defense. They got a defensive tackle, a defensive end, a safety, a cornerback, a safety, and another defensive tackle. So basically, what they're saying is we have our guy in offense, and now we need to replace this, like Carolina legends. And we'll see what they do. It's going to be exciting. They're excited to watch because of Christian McCaffrey, but new head coach in this division is just it's too much. They're going up against too much to try to win more games than they should. They're in a pretty bad spot, but it's going to be fun to watch a rebuild kind of. In Atlanta, 28-3. Us being Dolphin fans, we had to witness the New England Patriots with the biggest comeback in the history of Super Bowls. And it was pretty disappointing. And, Atlanta fans, this is going to be your year. Or is it going to be your year? I don't know. They do have tremendous offense. Matt Ryan is year in and year out has good numbers. You know what you're going to get from Matt Ryan. He's not a question mark. You know what you're going to get from Julio Jones. He's not a question mark. One of the best wide receivers in the league. What I found surprising when I did my research on them was that they had the number 8 defense in the league. Their top 10 defense with this type of an offense. Their problem was that they could not run the ball, meaning that they're giving too much time for the defense to be on the field. They can't control the clock, putting too much pressure on Matt Ryan. Coach Kelly, what does Todd Gurley do for his team? Does Atlanta take a step forward, or is it just is Todd. Have we seen what we're going to see from Todd Gurley? And how does he affect the year?
I think they're going to pace Todd Gurley, and he might have a light load in the beginning of the season, but as the season progresses, and probably during conference games, you may look for a heavier load with Todd Gurley. He has that arthritic knee that needs to be constantly treated. So I hate to say it, but Gurley might be looking at towards the end of his professional career. It's a contract year for Gurley, so we have to see what happens. I think Atlanta added a fullback to kind of help sew up the running game and support Todd Gurley. So we can look for possibly more two-back formations from Atlanta. Dan Quinn, as we know, this could be a make or break year for him too. So it's a lot going on with him on the offensive side of the ball to make sure that they continue to put up points and stop people on defense and make turnovers. To help on defense to make those plays, they added Dante Fowler, a former University of Florida player. For the most part, Devontae Fowler has been a pretty good professional football player, but he always has off the field issues, whether he was in Jacksonville or with the Rams. I think with the Rams, it was something maybe like he, just something minor, like he may have gotten in a fight with another player on the team during practice. But it's something like I can't remember, simple battery or something. He's always into something off the field, but a good guy on the field. And he's older, he's a little bit more mature. I think Dante Fowler, in Atlanta, some big things can come. Atlanta, save your money, is a plus 700 favorite. The likelihood to win the conference. 7-5 over and under. I think they may fall below that 7.5 game spread.
Yeah. The Vegas. I definitely wouldn't put any money on Atlanta or Carolina. Now, you did mention Quinn is on the hot seat. Bucks. You think he survives? Their schedule. They got the Seahawks, Cowboys, Bears, Packers. First 4 games. Either way you look at it, the Bears are the worst team in that 4-game stretch. But you have a very hard beginning of your season. Is he in the hot seat? Do you think do they have an interim coach coming in this season, or does this team step up and we see that old Super Bowl like Atlanta Falcons in the beginning of the season?
The Super Bowl choking Atlanta Falcons. I think Dan Quinn is on the hot seat. However, I think he's a really good coach. Especially defensively, he's a tough as nails guy. His players play for him. I think it hurt him to lose Shanahan to San Francisco for that offense. It also hurt him to lose the running game. I agree with Coach Todd Gurley. I loved him coming out of college. Loved him in the last few years. But once he went down in that Rams Super Bowl run, he just hasn't been the same. He had been a little bit injury prone coming out of college. Maybe he pulls a rabbit out of his hat. Maybe he stays healthy for the whole year and he gives him one more year. But I agree with Coach. He's pretty much headed toward the twilight of his professional career. I do like a couple of things that they did in the draft. They got this kid named Matt Hennessy, which was a center out of Temple. They're looking to move him into left guard. It's going to really help the offensive line and open up holes for hopefully a healthy Todd Gurley. Dante Fowler, Takaris McKinley was their number 1 pick a couple of years ago. I saw his numbers. They weren't great. He has a lot of talent to come off the edge. They also added Dante Fowler, and they traded for Charles Harris, which, if any Dolphin fans are listening, that means absolutely nothing because he's had 3 sacks in 79 career games. So that notwithstanding, I will say
That
I
sounded a
think.
little salty to me. Were you being a
Well,
little?
I mean, let's be honest. I was there the day he got drafted. I think if he would have been a 7th-round pick, it wouldn't have mattered. He was a 22nd overall pick, and I knew he was going to be a bust, and I was right. So I'm sorry. Anyways, I
Bucks,
think.
I'm a Charles Harris fan too.
Oh man, I thought it was too high for a guy who couldn't set the edge against the run, and he never could. But anyway, I think the Falcons have a shot to at least make it interesting and maybe save Dan Quinn's job. But by the same token, because I mean, you're talking about Julio Jones, you're still talking about Matt Ryan, you're talking about Calvin Ridley. I mean, there's offensive firepower. They got Hayden Hurst, the tight end from so now they replaced their tight end who left to the Browns. They got Hayden Hurst to replace him. Then they also have a tight end to work with, down in the goal line stand. So they have enough weapons to win games, but games could be 7 games, 8 games. Maybe they make it interesting and win 9. Maybe they're in the wild card hunt, but I don't think they're going to go any farther than that. And by the same token, if Gurley gets injured and they tee off on Matt Ryan, this season could fall apart real fast, and they could definitely you're going to be definitely taking Coach Kelly's under on the Vegas line for their total wins. I think they're going to be. Hopefully, I'm hoping for the best with them because I like their fan base, I like their team. I think if Gurley can stay healthy and give him at least a full year, they win enough games to save Quinn's job. But I don't see them getting into the playoffs. I see them winning, 7, 8 games, maybe tops.
Yeah. Now the good news with Gurley is that he is injury prone. We have seen what he can do in the Rams, but the good news here is that unlike the Rams, he's not the workhorse here. He's not the best player on the team anymore. Julio Jones is the best player.
Right.
Matt Ryan is probably arguably the 2nd best player on the team.
Yeah. Oh yeah. MVP.
So they have the chemistry. Ridley's going into his 3rd year. He should have a better year as a receiver. He's seen the league. He's seen the speed. He knows what he has to do. He should have figured it out by now. So that being said, they can keep Todd Gurley healthy. And if it does get to the end of the season, they do play Tampa twice in the last 3 weeks. So definitely a high point, either a spoiler at that point, or if they're good enough and they get the positive push from Gurley that they've been looking for, they could get very interesting. And that brings us to we can sit here all night long and argue about New Orleans and Tampa. I'm a Dolphin fan though, so I'm going to say Tampa 2nd place. I'm not giving Tom Brady no credit here. I don't really want to talk about that guy, but we'll talk about him anyways.
How dare you?
All right, fine. Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The talk of the offseason, Tom Brady, Gronkowski, moving to the NFC. Super excited to watch Drew Brees and Tom Brady play twice in the year. Tampa can be, if there is enough gas left in that tank, can be a very scary team because they already have the defense. They already have the pieces in place. They're just adding the GOAT, and they're adding the GOAT tight ends next to Mike Evans, which is maybe doesn't have the numbers to show for it, but when you talk about what you want in a receiver, he hits the mark in all of them. Good route running, deep threat, big, strong, has the hands. And now he has Tom Brady that all you really have to do is put it somewhere near him and it's a completion. Coach K, tell me. I know you want to be that guy and say Tampa's 1st place, but give me this one. At least let's put Tampa 2nd place for now.
Tampa in 2nd place. If that was to happen, the reason it would happen is because the Bucs management and team will not be able to get left tackle Donovan Smith to play this season. From my understanding, he's expecting his 1st child sometime soon in the next few months. So So he's not willing to put himself or his family at risk for this COVID-19. So that is your anchor of your offense, your left tackle on your offensive line. I'm not too sure how Coach Arians plans on shuffling his line around if Donovan Smith definitely does not play this season. But other than that, the Bucs are loaded. They have a two-headed monster receiver, and of course, like you said, Chef, they have Gronkowski and they have their other tight end also, and of course they have Tom Brady who can make plays, and Bruce Arians, who has been known to get a lot of juice out of older quarterbacks. Also, the Bucs, it's a plus 150 for them to win the NFC South. I would suggest you take the house money and bet the Bucs to win the conference. Over under is 10. I think they're going to fall at about 10 wins possibly for the season. So it's going to be a push. So you'll get your money back on that. But stay away from that over and under on the wins and losses for that. Chef?
I'm not planning. And maybe I'm being a little bit biased when I say this. I don't. When he first went to Tampa and that move happens, in my heart, I was saying it's a good move for him. He's going to a better situation, which is hard to say that because the Patriots have been so good for so long. But realistically, he's playing on a better team in Tampa than he was going to be playing with in New England. He has a lot more weapons in Tampa that he would have had in New England. With that being said, I've always said that Tom Brady was a product of Bill Belichick. He's not very mobile. Now Tampa does have an offensive line, so I don't think that's going to be an issue. The issue is, can he adapt to this style of offense after playing in New England for so long? He's going to a different conference. There's a little difference there too. It is a completely different place to go into. Like, let's say you're going into Buffalo at the end of the year compared to you're going into New Orleans at the end of the year. New Orleans is one of the hardest places in the NFL to win a game at. Their fans are super loud. They're in your face. It's always been a very fun game to watch, regardless of who's a quarterback at Tampa. Those games are always fun to watch. Carolina is a hard place to win at too. It's not their fans by any means are not bad. And he doesn't win in Florida. I don't know the numbers, but he doesn't win in Florida a lot, and he's playing in Florida. He has most of his home games are in Florida, so maybe it is a Florida thing. Maybe it's just he's the heat also. Like, he's used to playing in real good weather in New England. He's gonna be getting hit here with like some 95-degree weather. Like it's him coming to Miami, and we all know how that ends most of the time. Yes. So he's has to get used to playing in it on a week-to-week basis. This is now his home. How does it affect an older player like Tom Brady? That could be a factor. And that's why I don't have them winning the division. I think New Orleans is the best team in this division. Mm-hmm. I think Drew Brees, and I don't think Drew Brees is younger. He is younger than Tom Brady. He still has a little bit more left in his tank. He is getting towards the end, but if you ask me, who am I going to sign for 4 years? I'm signing Drew Brees, not Tom Brady. Tom Brady, I maybe give him a 1-year contract and see what he could do if he has anything left. Alvin Kamara, Michael Thomas, the defense took a step up from what they were a few years ago. They were having issues with defense there for quite a while. It seems like they've figured it out a little bit. The question that I have is, how much can he do? Did Bill Belichick make Tom Brady, or did none of them make each other and they both ball out? Mm-hmm. It's going to be interesting to watch. It's going to be fun to watch. I have them fighting in the wild card. Their schedule is tough. Everyone in this division has a tough schedule. They play the NFC North, and they play the AFC West. So you have to play the Super Bowl champions. You have to play a Denver team that is a question mark, but they're not a bad question mark. Like they're gonna win a few games. The Chargers are probably and Vegas. Vegas a few years ago was one of the better teams in the NFL. Do they take a step forward or do they take a step back?
Mhm.
It's very interesting. But I think Tampa is definitely the second best team in the division, and they'll be fighting for a wild card spot. Now, in the playoffs is a completely different conversation. Once you get Tom Brady in the playoffs, if they get there, Box, give me your thoughts on that. What would it be like to see Tom Brady in a Tampa Bay Buccaneers jersey, in a wild card matchup, and you have such a veteran that has so much experience with these type of games? How hard is it gonna be to beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers with the good defense that they already have in a playoff situation?
It's going to be extremely difficult. I'm reminded of when Joe Montana left the 49ers and went to the Chiefs, and he had Marcus Allen, and they went on a mini run in the early 90s, and they got all the way to the AFC Championship game before losing to the Bills. You know, if Brady is healthy and Brady can just, for 2 years or whatever, or this year, whatever it is, if he can be Brady, especially in the playoffs, I agree with it. One thing you said is that he has a lot more talent in Tampa than he was going to have in New England, regardless of what Bill Belichick did in the offseason. They have a better defense, they have better players, they have a better offensive line. They drafted Tristan Wirfs, which I consider to be the best right tackle in the draft from Iowa. He has played left tackle, so if like Coach was saying, if Donovan what's his name, Donovan Smith can't come in, they might kick Tristan Wirfs to left tackle. He has played left tackle before. Right tackle is where he excels, and obviously it would be better for him. But you also want to protect Brady. Like I said, they have enough talent. I like Bruce Arians as a coach. He's coached the team all the way to the Super Bowl when he took the Colts there. When Chuck Pagano had cancer, and they got all the way to the Super Bowl. So he knows how to get there. He knows what it is to win. He knows how, like you said, how to get the most out of older players. But I think Tampa goes, above all else with how much does Brady have left in the tank. Now, like you said, if they got to go to Dallas or they got to go to Green Bay or Minnesota or anybody who has to play them in the playoffs for the divisional round, wild card, whatever it is, they're in trouble. I mean, you have to game plan for a guy who has won 6 Super Bowls and won one as recently as a year and a half ago. It's like it's not somebody who he knows how to win. He's won with a lot less than what he has with this team. The reason I'm not picking him to win the division is, again, I don't know how much he's got left, because in the playoff game, a team like the Tennessee Titans basically just took it to them, and ran over him, and they didn't let Brady be Brady, and it showed how little, he couldn't make throws a few times in that game, and maybe he's fallen off a little bit, but he's still Tom Brady. I think they're a very dangerous team. I think they could go well. They can go deep in the playoffs. They might even get to the NFC title game, and then it's anybody's guess if they can get to the Super Bowl. And if they do, I mean, the media is going to eat it up, because then Tom Brady will have gotten a Super Bowl without Bill Belichick. I do like the move. I think. Whoa, what was that? I think I like the move personally for him, because, like you said, yes, it was all business in Foxborough for 20 years, and it was about winning Super Bowls and everything. But after a while, that kind of just grates on you. And I think, I follow him on Twitter, and you can just tell he's just happier. It's almost like he even looks healthier now. Like he feels like rejuvenated and reborn. And maybe that spills out into the field, because the last thing you want right now is Brady with any kind of head of steam, because he can rip your heart out, like he's done to many teams.
He's on that TB12 diet, bro.
Yeah, you're damn right.
On that TB12 diet too.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, like I said, I have them flip-flopping first and second for this division. it could go either way. They could win 10, they could win 11, they could win 9. Brady falls off a couple of games, whatever, twist an ankle. You never know. They are a very talented team. They're a very dangerous team. I still have the Saints just a little bit better than them.
Yeah, I would agree. I think it's at this point it's New Orleans' division to lose. They start the year, Tampa does, at New Orleans, so they get that game out of the way nice and early. You know what? Even if you lose it, good job that you got that game out of your way, because the last thing you want to do is have to go into New Orleans and win that game to get into the playoffs. So good for them. You start the year off there. You get the Tom Brady, Drew Brees matchup that everyone loves to watch. And then after that, you got Carolina, another division game. You got the Broncos at Denver is a interesting game. Maybe Denver could upset. I think I would love to know the Vegas odds on that one. I don't know if Kelly, coach, has it, but
I don't have it on me, Chef.
No, that's all right. But it's interesting. That's a pretty interesting game. But then they get Chargers. You got the Bears. You got the Packers. Raiders, Giants, Saints, and that pretty much goes their season. It's not an easy schedule at all. The good news is that you get the hardest game, I believe the hardest game of the year out of the way, and that's that at New Orleans game. That could be a decider you get a week 1. And worst case scenario, you lose that game, brush it off, and you keep going. And that brings us to, finally, the New Orleans Saints. I love Sean Payton. I think he's one of the best coaches in the NFL. Who doesn't think he's one of the best coaches in the NFL? And if you don't, please leave your comments, and I want to hear your argument about why you think Sean Payton is not one of the best coaches in the NFL. But Drew Brees, I will go back and forth with anyone. I think he's the third best quarterback of all time. And I'm still mad that the Dolphins passed on him twice. Not once, but twice. But whatever. We're not talking about the Dolphins right now. We're talking about the New Orleans Saints. Coach, give me your thoughts on the New Orleans Saints. Do they take the next step finally? I think they've made the playoffs, the past 3 seasons now. And losing in the playoffs, they're the best team in the division. What is it going to take for them to get over that hump once again? And do we see the Saints go back to the Super Bowl? Are we going to get the Drew Brees, Patrick Mahomes matchup that we've predicted?
Well, Chef, I mean, I can say the Saints is another team that age is starting to catch up with them. I totally 100% agree with you. Sean Payton is one of the best coaches in the NFL. The marriage between Drew Brees and Sean Payton has been nothing but exciting for NFL fans, and I know the fans of the Saints. Alvin Kamara, he has to stay injury-free, this season to kind of carry him. They do have a quality backup in Latavius Murray, but he's in the final year of his contract. This is a contract year for him. So I think Alvin Kamara will leave everything on the field in order to get the contract extension and stay in New Orleans.
Man, now sorry to interrupt you, Coach, but now you say Murray. I've got that guy on fantasy like 4 times, and he always murders me. So
yeah.
Good backup, but he's better than most of them. You are correct.
And Chef, in fantasy, I do agree because he may be like a 57-yarder and 2 touchdown guy for you, and it'll be a week that you would never play him, but that'll end up happening, something like that. So, but definitely, Latavius Murray, his first 3 seasons in NFL, or first 3 years, he's been a Pro Bowl running back. So he's a great kid, and he just needs to remain healthy. Brees pushed off retirement for another year to stay. If Brees could remain healthy, I mean, even though I like the Bucs, we can expect some great things from the Saints. They have Jameis Winston as a backup in New Orleans. We just have to see how much of Sean Payton's system he learns and how fast he learns it. Jameis Winston does have the skill set but it's just something sometimes that some of the decisions that he makes aren't the best game time decisions. Vegas has the Saints as the favorite at 120, 125 to win the conference, and over and under of 10.5 games. And I would say the Saints will probably push for over 10.5 games, and possibly win the NFC South. Chef?
And I'm just gonna go. This is a little bit off topic, but now that you're saying the over and the unders of Vegas, could you please explain to the listeners? And no, this is not a promotion to go gambling. Don't start gambling on everything. I just, for those that can, explain a little bit over and under. What do you mean by all that? How does it? Give me a very simple explanation. Like, dumb it as much as you can down for all of us, because I've been explaining this a whole bunch of times, and the only gambling I do is fantasy. That's it.
Okay. Well, the over and under for wins for the season, like a certain sports book has set the betting line at 10.5. So basically, if you believe the Saints will win over 10 games, so anything 11 and higher, you'll win. If you believe they'll lose, and if they win only 9 games or anything 10 and lower, it's you'll take the under. Okay. But if you say you'll take the under and you'll bet 9 games and they win 13 games, you lose your bet. Okay. And the same thing on the other end. If you say they're going over, if they go over, you're going to bet the over, and they only win 9 games, you lose your bet.
Gotcha.
So of course there's over and under, and there's the point spread, and it's a lot of other prop bets and all of that out there. But hopefully we'll have a long season and a lot more of that information to come out, throughout the podcast for the season.
I'm gonna give you, for sure. We'll talk more. We might even have one of our guys on Game On is like a gambling expert. We might bring him on here and talk some gambling on football games.
We would love to have him.
I'm gonna give this question over to Box, because I've always thought he was extremely overrated, and I know in the NFG podcast you drafted him. Talk to me. Explain to me, please, why you like Sanders, and why do you think that sign for New Orleans is so important to put him next to Michael Thomas?
Because Emmanuel Sanders, even as recently as last year, even when he had the receivers he had in Denver, and even when he went to the Niners, he's a guy that, maybe he's not a number one, but he could stretch the field. And you have to account for him. He's not just a secondary receiver who's just kind of running a route. You genuinely have to account for him. And if you can get any attention at all off of Michael Thomas, he just set a single season record last year with 149 receptions. He broke Marvin Harrison's record, which is astronomical. Think about how many more looks he's going to get now if he's more open, because they have to account for Emmanuel Sanders. It's not so much that Emmanuel Sanders is going to put up numbers in New Orleans. It's he's going to get that spotlight a little bit off Michael Thomas. So then he'll have more time and more energy to get even more receptions, get open, get more touchdowns, and help him win games. I thought it was a great signing on their part. And I mean, at the end of the day, maybe not last year, but you have to understand that the Saints were one play away for 2 years from the Super Bowl. They were in the NFC title game, the Rams fiasco. They were very, very close to going to the Super Bowl 2 straight years, and then last year they just got upset in the wild card round by Minnesota. But I'm gonna have to go do something. But anyway. I love Drew Brees. I think Drew Brees is an all-time great. I mean, he's, like you said, top 3. Him and Sean Payton work very, very well. And I have them in the Super Bowl. I genuinely have them in the Super Bowl. I think they were a couple of steps away for a couple of years, and I think this is the year that they can take that final step with the addition of Emmanuel Sanders, with Alvin Kamara. Like you said, Coach, Alvin Kamara definitely has to stay healthy. But they have the pieces, and I think this is the one year that they can actually, win, 13 games, get home field, get maybe a first round bye. And then, you get to the NFC title game, God forbid if they actually have a good enough season to have home field throughout the NFC playoffs. New Orleans is a very, very tough place to play. It's an unbelievably tough place to play. They have a lot of competition with the Niners and other teams we're going to talk about, but I definitely like the Saints. I like everything they've done. They're only been a couple of steps away, and I think this is the year they take that final step, which is why I have them a little bit ahead of the Patriots, of the Buccaneers.
I think every time we think about Tom Brady within the Patriots, we're all like, we're gonna be like the Tampa Bay Patriots as well.
The Tampa Bay Patriots.
No, but I agree, man. The Saints, they've been so close. They've won a Super Bowl. Drew Brees was getting to the end of his career, like we've mentioned, and I think, that right out to the sunset. Now Patrick Mahomes is the best player in the league. He won last year. We might get that Drew Brees Patrick Mahomes matchup. It might be one for the ages.
Oh yeah.
We also got that Sean Payton and Andy Reid matchup, which are two of the greatest minds in the NFL today. And they're going to be a fun team to watch, like always. They have some high-end players. Michael Thomas, one of the best receivers in the league. Now they added Emmanuel Sanders, Kamara, Murray. As much as he's killed me in the fantasy, he is a good running back. So can they take that next step? I think they do. I have them in the NFC Championship game against the 49ers, and I have them beating the 49ers. I think New Orleans is going to have the second best record. I just don't think Dallas is going to be there. So I'm going to give the Saints the upper hand there. 49ers might have to go into New Orleans. And that is the NFC South. That's how we see it. Everyone, me and Box, we're on the Nordic Football Guys. That episode is going to drop this week on Friday, I believe. We pretty much did a mock draft. It was a 12-man draft. We did a mock draft. He was on against me, and it was a lot of fun. Please give him a follow. We all of us are also on Twitter. Johnny, what's your screen name, or how do you say it on Twitter? I don't even know how to say it. Your screen name.
What is your Twitter handle? My Twitter handle is at JBCIC. Don't even ask me what that means. It's just a random Twitter handle. But once you go there, we're definitely repping the podcast, the channel, and on my page, obviously, I follow a lot of things, but definitely we want you guys to check out the podcast, and we'll have the links for the podcast on my page.
Yeah, absolutely, Coach Kelly.
My Twitter handle is at Charlie CHARLIE Hustle HUSTLE 9.
There you go. We're gonna have in our link. We'll have the Nordic Football Guys. That episode's gonna drop. Give them a follow. Listen, there's some real cool guys. Yes. It was fun to do a podcast with them, and they're purely fantasy podcast. Like that's their thing. We will definitely talk fantasy, but we won't go as in depth. Maybe we'll have an episode or two. But
and by the way, the guys are in Finland.
Yes, they are in Finland, in Europe.
Hence why they're called the Nordic Football Guys. They're actually in Finland, which at first I was like, what? But apparently they're doing very well over there. They have a great following, and they're trying to, educate about fantasy football. They have a huge fantasy football following over there. And, we kicked it around with them, kicked around ideas. as we were drafting, we would just, just talk about who we like, who we don't like, et cetera, et cetera. They're super cool guys. Definitely check out the podcast. And, they're doing one, I think, one every week, one every other week. But yeah, check them out. And like I said, hopefully that we'll have it. Well, it'll drop by Friday. And we'll definitely have our other one from last week. Well, we'll definitely drop a few more for you guys. We have a lot of stuff coming. You guys should check out our pages, and then we'll check out our links. And then we got consistent content coming to your way.
Yes, absolutely, guys. Like, subscribe down at the bottom. Click the little notification button. It's the first time I actually say that. But we are on YouTube. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. NFC South breakdown. New Orleans first place, Tampa second place, Atlanta third place, and Carolina fourth place. Until next time, thank you for joining.
Good night, guys.
Peace.